Okay, welcome Amber Brooks. I'm Nick Gora from NeuroNeeds, and it's a pleasure to have you today talk about picky eaters. They will grow out of it, decoding picky eating in kids. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, your practice, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me. So my name is Dr. Amber Brooks. I live in Dallas, Texas, but I do all my care virtually now. I have been in practice a little over 18 years, and my main focus is kids with developmental delays and chronic illness. So it's what I'm the most passionate about. And I like to take alternative and my traditional background, mix them all together, use what I love throughout the rest. And it's been really successful doing that. So that's what I do.
Well, I think this topic today is going to be of great interest to parents, neurodivergent kids, and
Sure.
and just kids that aren't neurodivergent. When is picky eating not just a phase? What are some of the indicators? I'm going to let you run with this and sort of give us some
Sure.
insights on what you think is a typical picky eater profile and when it's not a phase.
Yeah, I wanna share some things, but I think the first thing to talk about, with parents is what is picky eating, right? Because they all have this, they're all told that, I don't know, it's normal, they'll grow out of it. Um, and it's not normal, right? It's not normal and it's not something that they grow out of. So with me, I tell parents a couple of things. Um, is it extreme, right? Is it one of those things where I have parents that say they'll only eat this brand, they'll only eat that box, right? And so even if they put a food within that box, will they still eat it? Probably not, because they have an insane texture sense, right? Which is amazing, but terrible for parents that have picky eaters. If it's long lasting, kids, I'm not saying that a 3-year-old should be eating sushi, but certainly they should be eating a variety of foods, limited or few foods. So my big joke to parents is, well, does your kid eat more than 5 foods? Because typically it's a couple, right? Just a couple of foods. And then is it getting worse over time, right? Did it start out where, oh, it just was mushy food, and then it was this, and then it was that? And then another one is it stressful or emotional at mealtime? I have parents that dread mealtime,
Mhm.
right? And so for me, it's like, well, it's rarely just a behavior, meaning this is just them being difficult. This is just them not eating what I want them to eat. It's so much more than them not eating what you want them to eat. Unfortunately, that is something that they struggle with out of discomfort is what we have found.
So, in other words, there's something behind the picky eating,
100%.
and can you talk about that a little bit? What would be some of the well-known causes behind this picky eating, and then we'll get into what kind of questions would you ask to figure out which one of those causes it might be.
Some signs that I like to tell parents about. So things often show up together, but we're not teaching them how to put all those pictures together, right? Because parents, rightfully so, are running from one panic moment to the next, especially my kids on the spectrum. So um, this is important, right? Is what else is going on. So when picky eating shows up alongside other things like tummy discomfort, constipation, eczema, rashes, types of things, frequent illness, poor sleep, or big emotional reactions, that's a clue it's connected to something else. I also see it often in kids with developmental delays because that's what I do in my practice, or even sensory sensitivities. So these patterns together all tell us that eating struggles aren't random, right? They're just part of a bigger picture. We just focus on the symptoms so that when we go to the doctor, we tell the doctor they just won't eat more than 3 foods. And a lot of times parents are told, well, that's fine, they're eating, or if they're not underweight, it's okay, right? or if they look quote unquote healthy, it's okay. But we know that the foods that they're eating are not nutritious enough, and they certainly are not getting enough. I mean, none of us really are, let's be honest, getting enough nutrient value in our food. But these are the other signs that, hey, maybe this is more than just they don't like broccoli.
Mhm. So what kind of questions might a parent ask to better understand what's going on and to better deal with this picky eating?
So these are some of the things we were just talking about. But when we're looking at what do we need to ask, I think I would say ourselves as parents, right? What do we need to ask ourselves? Because a lot of the kids are not going to be able to articulate, whether that be nonverbal or they're like, I don't know, I just don't like it.
Hmm.
Right? That's not helpful. So for you as a parent, you need to ask, when did it start? Did they used to eat more food and and now all of a sudden it isn't that way? Do certain foods seem to cause discomfort? And we'll talk about what that looks like, especially in a kid that doesn't complain about pain, which none of the kids in my practice ever complain about pain. Are there other struggles again, like sleep and digestion and big emotions? Those again, it always goes back to looking at what I like to call sort of the pillars, which are, let's not isolate just picky eating. Let's look outside of that and say, are they comfortable? Are they sleeping? Are they behaving well for their age, or within how they normally are?
Hmm.
Or is this something you're noticing big emotions with? I have kids that have meltdowns before mealtime or have meltdowns within an hour after eating. So I'd like meals to feel calm and unstressful, but usually that is the opposite of how it feels with a picky eater. So looking at patterns and shifting the conversation from what's wrong with my child to what might they be trying to communicate with me.
Hmm. Understood. So if they're not sleeping well, they're tired, they're frustrated, that can play into it. The food disagrees with them, so maybe try
Sure.
switching the foods a little bit and just having a conversation with them about what's going on. Maybe trying to help them in their sleep pattern by reading to them and spending time with them and seeing if that improves their eating habits, changing up the food slowly to see what other things they might try and letting them be a part of the process. Do those sound like things that make sense to you?
Most of the time, I think it makes sense to us that are not picky eating or don't have a picky eater sitting in our kitchen.
Hmm.
I think those are the things that most parents have tried, right? And I think it's more important if I go into talking about forcing kids to eat, which is something I tell parents, please don't do that. Because food for you and I, we are looking forward to going out on Friday or Saturday night to our favorite restaurant, right?
Absolutely.
These kiddos, food is for survival, it is not for enjoyment. So if you're sitting down with them and forcing them to eat something or finish your plate before you get up, some of those more generational things that maybe we experienced, that doesn't work, right? Their will and their discomfort and their pain that's underlying the cause of why they're picky eating, why they're not sleeping well, why their behavior is bad. All of these things really and truly go back to, I don't feel good, right? And I picky eat because these foods I've decided are my safe foods. Now,
Okay.
is is Cheerios and Goldfish great? I mean, depends who you ask, right? But to them, it's whatever has felt the least uncomfortable.
All
And
right.
so they fixate. And parents will say that all the time. They're fixated. They only eat that brand. If I bring home a gluten-free version, Dr. Brooks, they won't eat it, type of thing. So I try to really say, you know, we don't want to force foods. We don't want to wait and see if they outgrow it. We sort of want to have gentle exposure and low pressure. So I tell parents as I move them into a gluten and dairy-free diet, I do it by kid because I find out what is your kid into, what do they like, what are we going to modify it to decrease that discomfort, which will broaden their horizons over time, but more importantly, get them eating for nutrient value, right? And so I like to offer kids like choices, right? They like to feel a sense of control. And when they're picky eaters, they're even more that way because they are trying to control what goes into their body. They can only control their pooping and what goes into their mouth. That's it. The rest of it, parents control. So I like to tell parents, give them all options you're okay with them picking, but let them have the option when they eat it, where they eat it, and what they eat, right? And I just tell parents, make it easy breezy. Put it out on a table, put it out low where they can snack on it. A lot of my picky eaters, they don't eat meals, right? They're the proverbial grazer. So let them graze. I'm not saying sit them down for a meal for 30 minutes and make them behave. That's ridiculous, right? We're not going to change those behaviors, but we have to change their mindset of food is no longer dangerous. And that comes with doing that internal work that a lot of us, do in our practices as doctors, but then also teaching parents it doesn't have to be my way or the highway. But also they have to stand firm because the kids will manipulate you 18 ways to Sunday. If you
Yeah,
let
they
them,
sure will.
right? They
Yeah.
sure will. They
So
sure will.
looking at this screen that you're sharing, would you feel comfortable? So let's create the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Nick is an 8-year-old boy. He's pretty quiet. He gets fixated on foods and he likes to eat Cheerios and Cheetos.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he'll eat some blueberries and um, and he won't deviate much from that. And
Sure.
the parents are pretty frustrated. Um, what are some of the low pressure, gentle exposures for our parents out there that you might recommend for Nick?
Yeah. Well, what I love about Cheerios is they're already gluten free, which is great for me. And blueberries also great for me. When it comes to the cheese, right, we've got the dairy component there. I typically tell parents I want to focus on some things like let's look at pooping behavior because when a kid isn't pooping every day and they're, let's just say, backed up, any of us, that gives them a feeling of almost fullness, right? Like I don't have much room in my stomach, so I'm just going to eat. So I want to look at, okay, let's look at that as a potential. Am I not eating enough or am I only eating these things because this is all I have the bandwidth for inside of my body? The other thing is there are some really great options that are gluten and dairy free as far as chips now with cheeses. So I tell parents, all you can do is offer it, but what needs to happen in order for them to get comfortable again, the offending foods have to come out, right? So what we like to do is find something that we can replace it with. So there's a couple brands out there that do a nice sort of cheese coating. I know that Pirate Booty is one of them. A lot of the kids love, and you have to pay attention to that texture because usually it's not even the way it tastes. Sometimes it's that they like the crunchy texture. So it's finding something else that's crunchy, whether that's mixing it in and leaving it out. But I do tell parents there is a lot with the picky eaters. There's not really such a thing as do it slowly because what does that mean, right? If you only give them a half, then there's a meltdown because they want more. Or I have kids climbing into the pantry, getting a chair and all of a sudden becoming, rock climbers in the kitchen to get to something they want. So I tell parents, you can't put it in the house. And for my older kids, my 4 and 5-year-olds, right, I tell them, look, they didn't have that at the store. I got you this instead. If you don't want it, that's okay. And then the fallback is still the things that are okay, which is Cheerios and blueberries. And some of my parents say, well, they can't live on Cheerios and blueberries, Dr. Brooks. I'm like, I get it. But I also have to get rid of the discomfort before I expect them to go outside of their box, right? And that box is safety. That
Yeah.
box says these things are safe, leave me alone. So I want to take away something that I know is likely the most offensive and replace it. If they like it, fine. If they don't, fine. Okay, bummer that we probably spent $6 on it, right? Hopefully someone in the house wants to eat it. But the other thing is, let's focus on the stuff that they're already eating. That's okay. And for me, it's a focus on texture. Because what I have found over all this time is if the texture is similar, it goes much better. If you're completely altering texture, focusing on, well, they like cheese or they like the cheese on the chip. Maybe, maybe not. A lot of times it's that texture that they like, and they're going to examine it, and you have to expect that. And you have to expect them to say no, thank you. And you say, okay, right? There's no screaming, yelling, meltdown, all of that stuff. But if you keep it in the house, they will find it. And that's the bad part is I tell parents, this is a family effort, right?
Yeah.
You all can't eat Oreos anymore, or you all can't get Cheetos anymore. So I tell my parents, look, y'all go out of the house, right? Dad goes to work, maybe mom works, maybe mom drops the kids off at therapy or school. I tell them, then go get a bag of your favorite thing. Go through the favorite drive-through and eat your junk food. Just don't bring it home, right? Because the kids get into it always.
Yeah.
And what's funny is parents start saying over time, and we work, and I'd say maybe the first 30 to 60 days, we're really seeing some progress here. They say, oh, well, I can keep that in the house because they don't even like sweets. And I'm like, not yet. Not yet. And so what starts to happen, and as you know, being around the kiddos is, I think a success is just them smelling it. I think them holding it. I think them putting it in their mouth. Even if they go, no, thank you, I respect that. But it'll be sudden, and you'll turn around and they're eating something at someone's house, or they're eating something in your house that you said they would never eat. So I tell parents, just keep your house clean, because they will start branching out. As they feel better, picky eating becomes less and less of an issue. Now, will they be the best eater ever? I don't know. I mean, are any of us,
Hmm.
right? I mean, are any of us? I mean, so be realistic about what you're really looking for. For me, I'm like, I want to make sure the kids don't have deficiencies. I mean, none of us are getting enough of that in our food. So we want to make sure that they're taking a multivitamin. And I use the NeuroNeeds for the kids. They love it. It's powder. It's easy to mix. And I need to make sure they're getting the nutrients, because if they do eat Cheerios and blueberries, that's fine with me, because at least now I know that they're being supplemented while we get them comfortable and moving on to new foods. But I really am honestly a proponent of letting them go at their own pace, as long as we are working on them getting healthy from the inside.
That's great. But so what I hear you saying is a couple of things, and I could be wrong, so chime in.
Yeah,
One,
sure.
in transitioning your child to another food, you're widening their palate and showing them that they can eat other things, right? There's this tacit, I can do this, and it's enabling them and
Yep.
showing them that they can improve, which I think is a great thing. And I guess what I heard you also saying is just keep continuing down that progression as far as you can go.
Yeah. And then sometimes it's do it, pull it away for a couple weeks. Every once in a while, parents will say, look, they were eating this. They ate it. And then, like, I offered it 2 days later and they didn't want it. And I said, remember the personality of the kids, right? A lot of them fixate and they obsess. And that's about food too. So they get hooked on something, and then all of a sudden, I don't want it anymore, never want to see it anymore, right? And so
Yeah.
it's just human nature. But I think when you have a kiddo on the spectrum, you tend to think that all their behaviors are spectrum related, and they're not. They're little humans with little personalities, right? And they get sick of stuff, and that's okay.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes eminent sense. So one of the things you talked about supplements, which sounds like a great way to get them the nutrients they need more easily. So what are some techniques for getting them to take supplements?
Well, this is a case by case basis. So let me tell you kind of what I do, and then how we sort of work together with the parents. So all the kids start supplements out of the gate with me, and the basics for me are a multivitamin and a fish oil, and depending on what else they have going on, maybe a probiotic, and then we wait and see what else they need. Because the one thing I can tell you is every single kid that I've seen needs a multivitamin. Every human walking on this planet needs a multivitamin. Um, and the trick for me, and I think part of my success through all these years of supplementing kids is I try it. I try it. I mix it all up in my kitchen. I figure it out, right? And so I have a very helpful handout that I give to all the families. Look, here's what I want you to do. But in that first meeting with them, I figure out what is their kid eating? What do they like? What do they don't like? Do they drink juice? Are they drinking soda? Do I have a family that doesn't only allows them to have water? Which you would think as a doctor, I would love that. But I hear that and I go, oh,
It's challenging.
oh, what do you mean they only drink water? Right? And so that's always a tough one for me. But the two things I have found the most successful is orange juice and lemonade.
Yeah.
Orange juice I start with because lemonade tends to be a little clear. So if we have a supplement that's brown, which they are, right? A lot of them are just like
Yeah.
funky.
Some color.
Y'all's are not, but like, a lot of the caps we have to open. And then it changes the color. And what does my picky eater do? I'm not drinking brown lemonade, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so a couple of the big things is the advice that parents are getting from their practitioner to do these things. A lot of people haven't tried on behalf of their patients. So now I have an insanely keen nose and taste. It's a gift and a curse. I hear everything, I see everything, I smell everything. It's a joke in my house. And so I feel like I'm a good test. I also have an extremely sensitive system. So if I'm going to get upset stomach or something, like it will happen. So I kind of guinea pig myself, to be honest. And then I write notes in a spreadsheet, right? It's either a yes or it's a no. Smell is a big thing. So a lot of things I do on purpose. And so orange juice is the easiest. And I filmed a video on our YouTube channel so parents could just go and see it. And I put, when parents are say, give them orange juice with supplements and they give them this much, well, the more orange juice I put in, the better it tastes. Well, the more orange juice you put in, the more orange juice they have to drink,
Yeah.
right? And no 3-year-old is drinking 6 ounces of orange juice in one sitting. And so then you're walking around with it all day. Not good for the supplement, right? So I like to do just a little bit, maybe an ounce or two. I always tell parents just enough to mix it in. And obviously you don't want it thick. So the other thing is I take a milk frother that we use for coffee.
Yep.
And they're really great because they're quick. Because I'm trying to make things quick for my moms in the morning because it's, a whole thing. So I have them use the milk frother in a glass because it takes all the little chunks of powder and breaks it up. Because if the kids sense that chunkiness, you're done.
You're done.
You're done. The other thing I like to do is I like to put stuff in a syringe. And I get one of those really big syringes that have a thick tip, okay? I need to take smell out of the equation if I can. Sometimes even drinking, like my parents will say, well, I used a straw. And I'm like, that doesn't work. I can smell my vitamins when I swallow them in a cap. I assure you your kid can smell them just because they're this much further away with a straw. That doesn't work. But because parents don't have those same senses that their kids have, good effort usually doesn't work, right? You can put a lid on a cup, but a lot of them, if they can't see what they're drinking, they're going to be like, why is there a lid on my cup all of a sudden? So I like to be very honest with them about it, right? And if they see what's going on and it's part of their routine, it's easier. So my kids that are super averse, like they won't touch anything, I start them out playing with a syringe in the bathtub. It's fun. It's a game. I'm going to squirt mom. She's going to squirt me. Then I'm going to move it to, I'm going to squirt something in your mouth. You're going to squirt it in mommy's mouth, right? Then now we're going to put juice in it. And then I start them on the supplements that don't have a taste because that's an immediate win for the family, right? Like, okay, I did this. Because a lot of it is they have failed so many times. I'm trying to give them the confidence to try again. Knowing that we're going to be successful, but it's hard, right? Because you've been knocked down so many times. So I love the syringe. It makes it where you don't have to have a ton of juice. They don't smell it. The orange juice is a great masker, super great masker. There's also other things. I don't find that my parents have to go down this route, but for those of you listening, There are different like dye-free um, flavors that you can buy. They actually use them for elderly people, and you can buy all the flavors. Okay, I told parents, look, don't make it more complicated than it needs to be, right? Because if
Right.
what I'm saying works, orange juice isn't expensive, mixing your lotion, potion, whatever you want to do in the kitchen, let's not make it harder until we have to. So luckily, thankfully, it's not a road we have to go down very often at all. And another thing that makes it quicker for those of you that are on a ton of supplements is getting a pill box, an extra large pill box, AM, PM. So in the morning, I tell my moms, open the AM, dump it out, pop it open, milk frother, syringe it up, go. Right? You're doing the prep work so your kid's not sitting there on the kitchen counter waiting for you to open up 10 bottles, right? Which doesn't make any sense for them or for you. So I
No.
tell parents, spend one, to pick one day a week for 30 minutes where you're all there and focused and get everything into that box and don't worry about it for the rest of the week.
And build a good routine. Yeah.
Totally, totally. So yeah, that's the long and short of it. And then we kind of meander through different things. Like I said, I'm able to tell parents, look, when I give glutathione, it smells like rotten eggs. They're like, ooh, I'm like, I know, I'm just telling you. Right. So let's not mix this the way we have been. Because I know how they're mixing it for their kiddo. So I try to set them up for success by knowing what's coming, what it tastes like, what it smells like, so that I can overcome the obstacle before they're melting down in their kitchen.
Yeah. So thinking though beyond this into everyday foods, and we talked about supplements. So you get them to take the supplements, and they
Yep.
have more energy, and they're feeling better, and maybe that ties into them sleeping better. Now they're in a got a better disposition. So then I say, gee, let's see if they'll try a little roasted potato.
Yeah.
Right? It's soft. It's
Mm-hmm.
pleasing to the stomach. Maybe another time, a banana. It's kind of soft. It's a little sweeter. It's like a potato. And just keep following that progression. Does that kind of make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I think innately parents know what their kids like. I also am not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Burger King way of life, which is you can have it your way and I'm a mom and I'm going to make three different meals. I'm not that person. And
Okay.
I'm super realistic about life. I'm not a person that tells families, I want you to shop farm to table and cook everything from scratch. And like, I don't even do that. Why am I going to sit there and tell the mom to do it? Right. So I tell moms, look, the good thing is your kid only eats a few things right now. Keep it around, but keep it available. And I think they will navigate the way they want to navigate. And I think small shifts are a big win, like we talked about earlier. Curiosity around food is like, it's just as good as eating a new food, right? Because curiosity is that last step to actually trying it. And when they start to have a good experience with food that doesn't hurt, that isn't uncomfortable, they will, on their own, absolutely start eating more outside of their little box. Um,
I
so,
I have a question along those lines
sure.
before I forget. So this is going to
Yeah.
sound weird. So let's say I'm a parent with a picky eater and I'm making some progress and I decide to have a garden and have my picky eating kid participate in growing some different foods
Yeah.
and making that fun and having them see something positive like you helped me grow this plant that grew this
Sure.
food. Let's try to eat it together. I mean,
Yeah, I love it. I love if I have moms that do cook or dads that cook, I tell them your kid will try just about anything that they've helped you with, right?
mhm.
Um, and even if it's putting it on their hands or smelling it or whatever, but they are more apt to get in there and be curious and just because it's fun and food hasn't been fun or enjoyable. So yeah, the more that you can do that, the better. What I tell parents that are working 12 hours a day and getting home at 8 o'clock at night to get in the kitchen and make this effort, if it's not realistic for you, no, right? But would it be nice to try on a Saturday if you wanted to make their favorite thing, cupcakes, or you wanted to get them decorating something, or I tell parents, look, sugar isn't bad. It's not great, but it can be a motivator, right? If
Hmm.
it's, I always tell parents, look, if it's gluten and casein free, I'm not going to judge. Not going to judge. If they want to eat, if you want to do pizza night every week, and I don't care if you want to make cupcakes on the weekends, I don't care. As long as it's not synthetic sugars that are neurotoxic, I don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great idea. I just don't know that it's realistic for everyone,
Yeah.
but certainly I think it's great.
I mean, getting them any kind of involvement, whether it's in a
Anytime.
garden or growing a little
Yep.
plant in the house or cooking or
Yep.
helping buy some of the groceries. I mean, I think that gives them more sense of control over their
Sure.
food.
Yeah. And they like choice. They do. They all do. They do. They go through that milestone for quite a long time. So the more choices you can offer, and I always like wink at my parents, like, it's not really a choice, right? They don't care which one they choose, but they feel like they're in control. So
That's
let's give
right.
it to them, right? And I think when I give my parents permission to, like, you don't have to eat perfect. That's not a thing, right? So don't
No.
obsess. It's taking the pressure off of y'all. Like, look, you're just normal people, right? We all do bad things. We all eat stuff we shouldn't. So let's just be safer about the choices that we make so we're not contributing to that inflammation and that pain. Um,
Exactly. So my final question, then I'll kind of let you wrap it up or add some things. So I'm a fixated parent, and I want my kids to eat green vegetables because I heard they have the most vitamins. And I'm making my kids' orange juice green now, and it tastes good. And now I'm trying to transition them into broccoli or something. Am I going too far? What do you say to parents that feel like until my kid starts eating vegetables regularly, I'm failing? I know I face that as a parent, right? With my
yeah.
kid. You have lofty goals that aren't realistic, and
Hey, and goals are good, right? Goals are good. I tell parents, I don't get I understand what you're saying. I don't hear that, and I'll tell you why I maybe don't hear that. Is because I have put their mind at ease that, look, here's the science that says we're getting all the nutrients. So stop obsessing about what you think needs to be going on,
Mhm.
right? I love vegetables. Love, love, love it. If you can put them in, juice them, put them in the orange juice. I tell parents, look, if you really got to have it, make a sauce. Put it all in the sauce, call it a day, right?
Yeah.
But they might not ever be the kid who eats broccoli. And I ask my parents, did you eat every vegetable when you were a kid? No, right? And so it's this, we want something better for our kids than what we did or had, but not, I don't want it to be to the point of obsession that it's unhealthy, because if we know they're getting the nutrients, we have the proof in the science that says your kid is all good, then what are you really worried about, right? Is it the act of? So there's a little bit of that psychology. And so once they're like, okay, they're safe, they're getting what they need, a lot of times it's the opposite. It's like, oh, good, I don't even have to worry about this. I can just let it ride. And as soon as that anxiety in the home goes down and mealtime is no longer the battlefield, it is amazing at how much of a relief it is. Because we know the kids feed on us, right?
Oh
Our
yeah, they
anxiety.
definitely,
Yeah,
absolutely. They sense the anger, the
totally.
frustration, and
And it's
sometimes,
hard.
yeah, it's tough.
So it's giving parents permission to relax a little and start enjoying your kid, right, in those
Yeah.
moments, instead of panic. And that's something I love to tell parents, like, as soon as we start working together, I want you to ask me any question. Nothing is stupid or ridiculous, because I don't want you worried. I want you excited. I don't want you anxious. I want you relieved, because that is a huge part of the healing process for kids, is getting is really supporting the parents through the process, right? Because you guys are boots on the ground. I'm not in your home, you know?
Yeah, so to kind of end from my vantage point, and then you can add whatever you like. What really resonated with me was the textures, which I'm very well aware of, and that it's their safe place. And
Hmm.
I never thought of it in that sense. And in thinking about food that way for kids, especially neurodivergent kids, that takes it to a whole nother level,
Yeah.
right? You're turning their world upside down
Yes.
when you do that, as you would to any adult if you took away their safe place. So giving them that texture in a better form,
Hmm.
having them feel like they're still in that safe place, and letting them know there isn't only one safe place. We
Yeah.
can create many safe spaces. That's what's really resonating with me. And I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or correct me or whatever.
No, I think you're absolutely right. It's when parents realize it is rooted in a pain behavior, they're not doing anything wrong as the parent. The kid is not being defiant or, ornery or difficult. Like this is an actual medical thing going on, which is great news because that means we can fix it, right? It isn't, oh, yeah, he's stubborn just like my husband. It's not that way. Certainly they might be, right? They might be. But it is really amazing to see when you get them comfortable and you get some of those gaps filled in for them, how they blossom into these little people that you didn't really know were under there, right? And food
Yeah,
is it is
yeah,
it is almost never, ever, ever do I have a family that doesn't have a picky eater. So it is
yeah.
so common.
This is really fascinating to me because, I mean, I'm a lawyer by training, and I see more and more that all these human behaviors revolve around relationships and how people interact. And it's just very easy to be that frustrated parent.
Of
But
course.
but you don't think about how that's affecting your child, and potentially hurting your relationship with them to the level
Sure.
where you can't even get them to eat the better Cheetos because
Right.
it came out of a different bag, right? If you right, so I think what you're saying also in addition, which is really important, is be patient, move slowly, and don't force, were the second big things that really resonate with me. And
Yeah.
take your frustrations later with a glass of wine, or wherever you want to go in your safe place, to
Yeah.
deal with this.
I told Go ahead, sorry.
Those are really important, but it's just so easy to lose that in the moment.
It is. It's easier when there's facts, right? I'm a scientist. I'm a fact person. So you put something about my kid in front of me, and I knew like that was their urine, that was their stool, that was. I then start to go, okay, this isn't just your opinion. This is actually what's going on, and I put the control back in your hands, which is ultimately what we all want. And I say, look, here's how we fix this so that these other symptoms that you see start to get better. Putting the control back on the parent and educating them on how to help their own child also takes you out of the spiral that you're in, the frustration that you're in, because you're like, wait, now I'm doing something. Because before it was just like, what is wrong? What is going on? Right? It was just this constant frustration. Now it's, okay, now I have a direction to put and funnel my energy. And I know that I'm making things better, right? That this is not going to last forever. This is a blip in time that I promise you will have amnesia from one day. And it makes parents feel a lot better because that control goes back into your hands.
That's right. Well, we could go on for hours here, and I know you're busy, but maybe we'll do another session with some case scenarios and so on. It's really fascinating, and it's tough being a parent.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I love taking care of y'all. I love being on the journey. It's a fun roller coaster, right? It's
It
always
is. It
it's
is.
always changing, and that's what I love about it. Never gets boring. Never
Yeah,
gets boring.
we were kids once too, so
Yeah. And I think we all forget. But again, we always want 100 times more for them than what we had, and
that's
and that
right.
that's why we're all here. That's why you're listening, and that's why hopefully tomorrow will be a better day.
I think it will be, thanks to some really good advice. Thank you, Dr. Brooks, and we
Of
look forward
course.
to seeing you again.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, take care.
You too.
As always, consult your physician before trying any of our products. For more information, visit NeuroNeeds.com. We would appreciate it if you would like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for being part of our journey.